Rush outsells Forspoken. Console makers to not be at E3, and the PS Plus collection to be removed. Extra, extra, hear all about it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast that's held together with toothpicks and duct tape. I'm the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater on all platforms, and joining me today is twitch.tv/LMJ the Hitman, Landen.
How is it going, fellas? We got a lot today, and hopefully we don't melt your brains with all the news, the amazing news we have. The good news, the bad news, and the boring news. Yeah. Melting your brains today.
Yeah, I have a couple things that I'm sure we're going to talk long about.
I'm sure I got some rants in me somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I only put 3 stories in because I figured we'd be talking quite a bit about
the stories. Yep.
So,
for sure.
I'm doing pretty good. I submitted that thing, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, nice. From last week?
Yeah, from last week. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom. On the silver member level, we talked about this little project I've been working on for a couple weeks. No Gavin today. Just you and me. Back at it. Like a bad habit.
And crack addicts.
Oh, yeah, and crack addicts. Because that's what we want for our show.
Crack addicts. We'll take every single crack addict out there. As long as you're listening. I don't know how you're listening, but we appreciate it.
As long as you're a cool person.
Yeah, cool crackheads are cool with us. Keep your distance and just listen only. We're good.
Yeah. This is Extra Extra, your weekly gaming news podcast covering the news leading up to Sunday, February 5th, 2022. And if you like us, you can go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom, as we mentioned before. And let's get to some news. First, we're going to start off with a feel-good story, or a feel-bad story, depending on what side you are on. Hi-Fi Rush outsells Forspoken. This is according to... This is according to SteamDB, which lists the top-selling games on Steam. Hi-Fi Rush, in its first week, came in at number 8, and Forspoken was not even in the top 10.
Go figure.
Forspoken, and this is notable because Forspoken sells for over double Hi-Fi Rush's price. It's $70 compared to $30. Hi-Fi Rush had no marketing being released on the same day it was announced. But there is something to note as far as these numbers. SteamDB does not count different versions together, so like deluxe, a deluxe edition does not count the same as just the standard edition. They're counted separate, so that could skew the numbers of Forspoken a little bit. And early pre-orders and third-party key sellers are also not included, so that could also affect the numbers a little bit. Before we get to our discussion, I just want to say, kind of funny, we've mentioned them before on this podcast. Last week, I think it was last week, Greg had mentioned something that got me thinking. He was talking about all these video game journalist layoffs and so forth. And, the people that weren't being laid off were the names that you hear, like Jason Schreier or Gene Park, stuff like that. And, to help to help other people, we should be mentioning, we should be
Damon Hatfield.
we should be talking about them. So, people who wrote about this story: Neville Lahiru from Game Rant, Priyansh Sidhwani from Tech Story, and Chris Scullion from VGC are 3 people I found that wrote about this story. There could be more, but my cursory Google search, I did not find anyone else. But yeah, so as I mentioned to you, I did bring up this story because there's another discussion I wanted to get to. But first, what are your thoughts on this story?
On Hi-Fi Rush selling? I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that I think it's actually pretty crazy that how well it sold on Steam, and I think that tells me a lot of different things. First of all, I can't believe the people that made The Evil Within made this game. I'm in the middle of Dead Space, so I'm not joining in on the Hi-Fi Rush just yet, but I will because it looks like my game. It looks like Devil May Cry meets Jet Set Radio, and that is my jam. That sounds like my jam, so I will be playing that game. But I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy that it sold so well on Steam, knowing that it's free on Games Pass. People rather drop $30 on Steam rather than spend $15 to play this single-player game for a month.
Yeah.
I think that's a little weird. That people's priorities is on Steam, I assume. It's in your Steam library and forever. I understand that.
Yeah.
But the fact that it sold pretty outrageous on Steam, just PC and Games Pass must have like a hard time with their marketing or something, because I just couldn't believe how well it sold on PC or Steam, I should say.
Yeah. Well,
but props to that game making money.
Yeah.
They deserve it. I love silent drops like that, especially when they're as good as they are. The last time I remember a good silent drop was Apex in, I think, 2021 maybe, or 2020, and it just came out of nowhere. Maybe 2019. Came out of nowhere. I was bored. Then one day I heard a rumor, and the game was out, and I played it for a whole year straight.
Yeah. Gavin told me a crazy story about that. Maybe next week he can tell it a little bit better, but essentially him and his buddy were going through the PlayStation store trying to find a game to play, and his friend's like, well, what about this Apex game? You want to play that? So he's like, yeah, sure. So they start playing it, and literally an hour later, it was announced. They were playing it before it was officially announced.
Wow. That's pretty dope. That's so dope.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I have played Hi-Fi Rush, at least the first hour and a half of Hi-Fi Rush. I wasn't keeping track of time, but I got to your hideout, which is where you do like your upgrades and stuff like that. I got to that point. I've not played it since, but that's not for lack of not wanting to play it. I'm trying to get through all of these other games that I already committed to, and I just wanted to have an idea. It is great, and as far as the rhythm aspect of it, because I am not someone that has any rhythm whatsoever, they have so many ways to help you with that. So they have, if you hit the Xbox version of the select button, which is the 2 boxes. Oh, my dinner's here.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Thank you, honey. The button with the 2 boxes or whatever. If you click on that, it pulls up a bar where it has these white half circles that are moving to the beat, and on the beat they'll meet in the middle and form a full circle, and then you get a little companion thing, which I won't spoil too much, but you'll get a little companion thing, and it emits light to the beat, so you can just look at your companion and see the beat and so forth. So so they have ways, and even if you don't hit it to the beat, you still attack. You just don't do as much damage. And And so they have ways of getting around you not having rhythm, which is really nice. They also have a difficulty setting that makes hitting the beat not necessary at all. I started with that because I was like, I don't have rhythm, so. But then when I saw the other stuff they had and the fact that it was way too easy for me on that setting, I was like, okay, I can bump it up. I was like, it's pretty cool. But yeah, there's another bigger discussion I think that we can have here, because they I've seen a lot of discussions about Forspoken's dialogue and Hi-Fi Rush's dialogue, and people have pointed out that they're not that different. And so there's been a discussion around that. My thing with that is, yeah, they're not wrong, but they're not right either. I think a more apt comparison would be Forspoken and High on Life. But even then, I think High on Life's visual tone matches that kind of dialogue a little bit better on top of that, too. Because you got Forspoken, which is this super hyper-realistic, high fantasy, like, theming and all this. And then they've got super cartoony dialogue.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Childish dialogue.
Yeah.
Like preteen, adolescent. Hey, get in the recording studio and create the dialogue for us.
Yeah.
Write the dialogue for us is what it seems like a preteen.
And the whole Justin Roiland thing has soured me on High on Life. I undownloaded it for that reason. I had never actually played it before all this stuff came out. So you can say what you want about that, but that game's visual style, it much better matches that kind of dialogue. It's very similar dialogue, but the visual identity and the tone of the game matches that dialogue a lot better than Forspoken. And then for Hi-Fi Rush, it's got similar dialogue, but unlike Forspoken, which is this open world setting where you can explore and do all this stuff, Hi-Fi Rush's level design, it is not open world at all. It is a very choreographed isn't the right word. Very contained level design. So there's some exploring. Like there's one point where I was on a level and I was about to go through a door, and I was like, hold on, I think I can make it up to that platform. So I jumped up on that platform and I found they have it's almost like pieces of heart from Zelda. They're just like fragments of different items that upgrade your combo, upgrade your health, upgrade your G for your specials and stuff.
Okay.
And so I jumped up on that platform and found that. It's not like I encountered a whole other, level. It's just, I can jump on this platform. Oh, hey, there's a platform over here with an upgrade. It's much more contained, much more planned space. And because of that, the dialogue is also much more contained and planned. So you're not getting, like with Forspoken, it's just while you're exploring the world, they'll have these conversations where they're going back and forth. Whereas Hi-Fi Rush, it's only at story beats. Only when, they need to progress the story that you're getting that kind of dialogue. And the visual identity matches that dialogue. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yes.
So, and on top of that too, there's the whole idea that the only thing I've really heard good things about Forspoken is the world building's good, and then the traversal's good, but the dialogue and the rest of the gameplay is not. Hi-Fi Rush, I loved playing that game, and again, I'm not a rhythm guy, but man, it is a fun game to play. It is delightful. It is colorful. Another thing about Forspoken is a lot of people have talked about how like the first 3 hours it's just brown. There's Hi-Fi Rush does not have that problem of just being brown. It is super colorful, super fun, super cartoony, and the dialogue fits that environment much better. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, you just get me all pretty hyped about it. To be honest, there's just so much to play, and here you are trying to get me into another thing.
Fun game. I can't lie about that.
That's true. That's true. I don't know, man. Like I'm gonna play the fuck out of this game. I think Forspoken is just something that fell completely flat. I know it's supposed to be like sci-fi and it's somewhat similar with the combat as like combos. Like I know that Forspoken has that combo meter in the top corner, and Hi-Fi Rush has that combo meter. And just from the gameplay that I've seen of Hi-Fi Rush, I know for a fact that a combo meter just feels better in the combat compared to Forspoken. I played the demo of Forspoken, felt awful. There is a night and day difference in just the polish, and sometimes just focusing on a smaller project just works better for everybody, and just turns out to be a better experience. Sometimes trying to make the biggest open world thing doesn't turn out the right way.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is Forspoken could have benefited from being a more choreographed experience and focused on that. Like I said, apparently the traversal is real good in that game.
It did feel all right, but that was about it. That's all that felt okay.
Make a game that goes, builds around that traversal aspect and not necessarily the action aspect.
The demo area was kind of like grayish areas, and I mean the traveling was kind of cool, and they had this grapple hook kind of thing. And it was just a big old. I'm glad I got to play that demo. It saved me $70, and I now get to play Dead Space. And that game is great. That game is great.
Yeah. I wish I could do horror games. Like I probably could do horror games. It stresses me the fuck out.
I don't blame you. I was playing it with all the lights off, and then that kind of got to me. So I switched off of doing that and turned on some lights. And I gotta say, it's probably one of the scariest games I've ever played. By far.
Now that I'm streaming, I think that me playing horror games might be more of a thing, just because A, that's real popular with Twitch and the Twitch algorithms and stuff. But B, I think that will actually make me commit to playing through them. You know what I'm saying? Because then you have people relying on you to play it. So that might be the way to go for me getting into horror games. But anyway, we move on from one story of success and failure to another story of success and failure. Console makers are not going to be at E3. This comes from multiple sources. As far as like multiple sources talking to different outlets and so forth. Nothing super official, but also like it's pretty obvious it's not happening. But Xbox last week confirmed that they would be in LA for its annual showcase, and it was going to be timed with E3 for convenience. They expressed their support for the ESA and left having a booth vague, but now it sounds like they won't even have a booth.
I got some shit to say about this.
Nintendo has stated, they actually did come out and state they have fewer major releases and can't justify having significant event space for E3, which doesn't sound like we're getting Metroid Prime 4 this year then.
Again, yeah, wow.
2018 they restarted development. It's like, man, how long is this going to be?
Well, they did do a reset, right?
But that was in 2018. It's
Oh,
been,
right. That's right. That's right. I mean, they've had plenty of time.
Reset. But it is what it is. That they were affected pretty heavily by COVID, so that could have put things on a slowdown. Sony has skipped the 2019 and 2021 shows after a dispute with organizers. I don't remember if that dispute was in 2019 or if it happened during E3 the previous year, but they have not been at E3 since 2018. And then a source with knowledge of the planning of E3 had this to say: there's not a good sense that there's an understanding of what this show is going to be or how it will come together, which is strange from a company that did such an amazing job with PAX. Popping in real quick, they're referring to Reed Pop coming in and helping the ESA plan E3, and Reed Pop is in charge of the PAX events as well. From a company that does such an amazing job with PAX twice a year, it seemed like they'd be the perfect shepherds for something like E3. So who knows where the issue is? Is it an ESA issue? Is it a Reed Pop issue? But there seems to be a lot of genuine interest from game publishers in the concept of E3, but it's really frustrating that we don't have good solutions. People that wrote about this is Sophie Caron from Yahoo, Alex Osornio from Game Rant, Jeremy Gann from Dexerto, Mark Deschamps from Comic Book, Wesley LeBlanc from Game Informer, Sean Keane from CNET, Jay Peters from The Verge, Kat Bailey from IGN, and Andy Robinson from VGC. A lot of people wrote about this. There were so many people that wrote about this. I actually did not include everyone that I found that had wrote about this, because there's some outlets I was like, I've never heard of this. I don't know what their views are. It's just better to be safe with just the outlets that I've heard of and know about. But a lot of people have written about this particular story, including us. So what are your thoughts of this?
First of all, I want to say props to I like how you mention all the people. I do like that. I appreciate you giving everybody the shout outs, because I think that we need to start doing that moving forward. Just anybody and everybody, really. But okay, so my thoughts on this. First of all, Jeff Keighley and E3 were looking like they're going to battle head to head this year, right? Like Jeff Keighley announced last year that he would be having a conference, Summer Games Fest, right? That's what he calls it, I believe. Yeah, he's going to have Summer Games Fest this year, and then not too shortly after, like a month, E3 was like, hey, we're doing our thing too. Which immediately is like, ding, ding, let him fight, because Jeff Keighley has been knocking it out of the park the last couple years. Honestly, last 4 or 5 years, he's just been really killing it. And, sorry about random message. Okay, he's really been killing it, and I'm so excited to see what he has the middle of this year as well. The E3 not having the big three, outrageous. I can't believe it. Not even having one of the three. You're not even going to at least get Nintendo in there. Now, I figured that E3 would try to approach it differently, as far as when E3 has their huge conference and people actually show up to the show floor. You know how much money it costs PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo to rent out a booth, rent out the space, employ the people. They have to be there all week. The conference, paying celebrities, having all these big wigs show up from Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft to show up and put on this whole thing. It costs so much money. Meanwhile, Jeff Keighley says, "Here's just a digital video. Here's just a digital video you can stream anywhere you want, and that's it. And it gives everybody the exact thing that they wanted from E3 from home." It sucks for the people that show up to these things, that limited 5,000, 10,000 people that show up to it, despite the millions of people who watch, you know what I mean? So I can't believe that they're not going to get the big three. I think E3 has to make some sort of announcement to say soon, because they need to start building hype for this conference. especially for their investors. They need to come out and say, well, okay, we don't have these people, but we are going to have such and such. We're going to have this studio, like EA. We could have, Activision. Like, now starting making some announcements of who will for sure be there and why people should watch. Because right now, E3's not looking good, and Jeff Keighley's looking like he's smirking. I guarantee you, he's smirking right now. He's sitting pretty good. I'm sure he was worried whenever he heard that E3 was going to come back, because he probably didn't know with the relationship with E3 and all the big three. And now he knows the relationship isn't that strong, because they just don't have what it takes to bring those three back. I mean, you know what a big announcement it would be if E3 was like, and PlayStation will be making its return to our conference. That would be huge.
That would be.
I'm surprised that E3's not trying to go out of the way to spend extra money to make these things be here. But I mean, there's still more to be unveiled, I'm sure. But right now, Jeff Keighley is the man.
Yeah, and the other thing is Jeff Keighley started, was it last year or the year before, started doing what E3 used to do as well with the behind closed doors demos for press and stuff.
Yes.
So he started doing that as well. I think E3 could work as sort of a PAX type event, but it's weird because they're trying to do what they used to do with E3, but they're also trying to do what they do with PAX, and they're trying to mash the two together, and by doing that, they're just hitting two rocks together, hoping that they turn into one rock.
Yeah, and E3 went through a lot of trial and error to see what does and doesn't work, and they were kind of getting to the point where it was work, they were getting a routine, and now they've been out of that routine so long. Things have changed. People want different things now from these conferences. I am upset about this because I grew up watching E3 all week. I'd sit down in front of the TV. I would watch all the developer diaries. I would listen to the behind the scenes of each game at each studio, talking about their games, talking about their studio and the people that work there. That's how I got to know Cliff Bleszinski and how cool of a dude he was when he announced Gears of War.
Yeah.
And now that's kind of not a thing. Well, that's unfortunate, but I mean, at the same time, we're getting better stuff out of it because of this.
There's a story that literally broke after today, which I made this doc yesterday, which will have you excited. The Coalition's 2 projects that they had ahead of Gears 6 were canceled, so they're starting Gears 6 now.
Hey, there was 2 projects they were working on besides Gear 6?
Yeah, and they both got canceled, so now they're working
on Gears. That sucks, man. I know that was like last week's news that, Microsoft did all these, cuts. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to see what the Coalition had other than Gears. I am a Gears fan, and I want Gears 6 so bad. I feel like we should have already had a Gears 6 by now, especially how that last one ended. I want it. But that is a good studio. They showed me with Gears 5 that they can make just a game. They just made a game, and I would love to see what else they can do. Think outside of the box of Gears of War, and that's unfortunate. That is so unfortunate. Again, I am excited they're going back to Gears. They're going back to what works for them. Also, it makes me feel like Gears is like 2-3 years away. So we'll see. Xbox likes to make an announcement. I mean, PlayStation's no better, but Xbox likes to make an announcement for something that might be 5 years away. So maybe we'll see something about it.
Yeah, but back on story.
Yeah, sorry.
You're good. I love your passion. That's why we get along so well. I liked what E3 did in 2021 with having all these streamers as hosts, and the biggest problem that E3 had 2021 was the fact that every game they showed had already been shown the previous week.
Yeah, like it was all old news by then.
Yeah. Go out, pay these people to to have exclusive rights to show these games, rather than be like, all right, whatever games you want to show, that's fine with us. And then we saw the same 3 games. We saw what's her name in Wonderland, the Borderlands spinoff?
Tiny Tina.
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. We saw that 8 times.
Yeah, and by the time they showed it again, it's like, oh, okay. Like, there's no wow there was no wow factor.
No, and so it was like that. If they had gone with what they did in 2021, they tried doing other things that failed miserably, but just exclusively that showcase is what I'm talking about, where they had the different streamers and journalists as hosts, and for commentary and stuff. That I liked that format. It was unique, where it was the hosts, and the hosts introduced the stuff, and then they'd be with like a board of journalists or whatever. Like, okay, so what did you think about that? And there was discussion, and then they went to the next thing. That was great. I liked that format. It was somewhat unique. The problem is that they didn't have anything that was brand new in that E3 showcase. Pay these companies extra to be like, hey, give us something that you're not giving, Summer Game Fest. Give us something that you're not giving, that you're not going to be showing at your own showcase or at the Xbox showcase or whatever. Just something exclusive. And then do that same format they did in 2021. Forget about the in-person thing. People don't go to in-person events anymore. It's sad, but it's true.
Yeah.
Even with the success of PAX the last few years have been, well, I guess there was a couple of years where they didn't do it, but last year PAX was a lot smaller, and part of that was COVID rules and everything. They had to limit how many people came in, but like people, because of COVID, a lot of people just don't want to go out anymore. Just do a broadcast showcase like Jeff does. And maybe, convince some companies to do like behind closed doors demos like they used to. But just, I don't understand this. Oh, we want to try to do what we used to do when it was just press and having the conferences and the booths, but we also want to do this thing for fans. Let's mash them up together and see what we get. That was never going to be if I'm being honest, I never thought that was a recipe for success in the first place. And clearly, companies feel that too, because no one's committed to doing E3 yet. And in fact, like the big three have pretty much all said they're not doing the E3 thing. So who knows?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see if that scares people away.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, oh yeah, like other people might have been waiting to see who was going to be there, and then they're like, oh well, the big three's not there. Well, then why would I be interested in wanting to be there?
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean,
they definitely need
so much could change in that amount of time. Like, who knows?
Yeah, they definitely need like an EA there or something.
Oh yeah.
I almost said they need an E3 there, but E3's gonna be there.
They need an E3 there.
They need an E3 there. But yeah, they definitely need like someone. I don't even know if Ubisoft is big enough right now for them. They definitely need something. They can't just they can't just have anybody. They need a name to draw people in.
Yes.
And like I said, me personally, just go with the showcase they did in 2021. Just get, exclusive rights to like announcements and stuff. And then just cut out all the extra stuff they want to do, like the virtual show floor that ended up not working with digital avatar or whatever. Get rid of all that shit. Just focus on doing a highly produced showcase, and that's it.
I mean, something that I think would be pretty cool that they could do. I would not charge. So if they're listening, don't charge. But a lot of things I've been seeing with like museums and other attractions is a virtual reality way to be there. Man, that'd be so cool. I have a Quest 2. You give me the ability to be on the showroom floor and just wander around with the headset live. That'd be so dope. I might even spend money. I don't want it to be free, but might even spend money. Like if I get my own interpretation of, being there on the show floor, it'd be so hard to say no to that.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know if that would be how much that would work.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, that sounds like an expensive setup, but I've seen museums and stuff start to do that, and you can go to a basketball game.
Yeah, there's a couple concerts you could have gone to.
Yeah.
But speaking of not being available, the PlayStation Plus collection is to be removed.
Start downloading.
This starts, it ends May 9th, I guess I should say. There are 19 PS4 games free to PS Plus subscribers on PS5. There used to be 20, and then Xbox acquired the subscription rights to Persona 5, and that got removed from the list. But the 19 games are God of War, Fallout 4, Mortal Kombat, Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank. I'm assuming that's the 2016 version.
It is,
Days
yes.
Gone, Until Dawn, Detroit, Become Human, Battlefield 1, Infamous Second Son, Arkham Knight, which is an interesting one, The Last Guardian, Last of Us Remastered, RE7, Bloodborne, and Monster Hunter World.
I think a lot of those had to do with numbers of sales as well. Like they put bigger sale titles, and then obviously some of the ones that are necessities.
That makes sense, because going through the list,
I don't know why. Like there's some random ones in there that's like, that's what you chose?
There's some random ones in there, but like Mortal Kombat, I think if I were to think about the console that it might most make sense on, it's PlayStation. Battlefield, it makes more sense to be on PlayStation. Arkham Knight, though, I don't associate Arkham Knight with PlayStation. Bloodborne, I associate with PlayStation. RE7, Resident Evil games in general, I associate with PlayStation.
A lot of Capcom stuff I associate with PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Persona, obviously, I know that's not on there, but I have that one still downloaded. Although I wish it was Royal. If it was Persona 5 Royal, I would have already started that game.
Yeah. Yeah, Royal is so good. It's on Game Pass, the Royal version.
No trophies.
Yeah, but achievements.
Oh,
I got all the achievements in that game.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I can pull it up real quick. I can screenshot that for you. But yeah, no, I got all the trophy, or not all the trophies, all the achievements in that game. But yeah, it's one of those things. They never pretended like it was going to be forever, which is fine, but they also said that it's going to be there as long as screen. They said it was going to be there as long as they needed it to be for PlayStation 5s to start selling. And PlayStation 5s just started coming into the market. So it's one of those things where it's weird timing that finally people are able to get their hands on I don't like that time played though. Finally got their hands on the PlayStation, and now they're like, we just started production to make people get their hands on it. Now those people won't be able to play these games.
Yeah, like now, people are just now being able to go to a store and be able to find a PlayStation. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I have a buddy who's wanting to get one this summer, and I sent him that link as like, man, you better see about getting yourself one sooner than that. Because for somebody, especially my buddy, who's like missed a lot of the PS4 life cycle and wants a PS5, he's big on the PS3, kind of a 360 guy. He had a child, and the child's like 4 or 5 now, and he's able to like get back into games and wants to get back into games. He missed a lot of PS4. Those 20 games or 19 games are like you said, like the essentials, some good games in there that'll catch you up with what you missed. And that's just, I don't know why you wouldn't just keep that as a permanent deal. That's just sad. That sucks because for people who just picked up a PS5, and missed, like I said, missed PS4, you're going to bring people into more of your own products. Again, you're taking away, like we started at the beginning, for the people who pay for silver, you would have heard a rant, but, you're taking away access to people being more interested in your product that will spend more money in the future. I don't understand why they would do that.
Yeah. I posted in Discord this screenshot. I will say I left the game on a couple times, so that time played isn't fully accurate, but I also hate looking at that.
Better way to get a more accurate time is save files. Save files have
yeah, the save files have that. But
because there's definitely games where I'll, especially big open worlds, all right, I'm gonna put this controller down, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'm gonna go make dinner, and I'll come back. And then I come back, and it's like, you've been 300 hours in this game. Like, no, it's a 60-hour game.
Yeah. No, this is definitely longer than 60 hours, but...
Well, for sure. I think it's like 120 to 140 for a playthrough, and then I think it's averages anywhere between 180 to 240 for a plat playthrough or 100% playthrough, depending on, if you set the controller down and walk away.
Yeah. But, yeah, no... It's just one of those things again. I did not mention this. People who wrote the story are Andy Robinson from VGC, George Yang from IGN, Dalton Cooper from Game Rant, and Jeffrey Rousseau from Game Industry Biz. I just don't understand why they do some of these things the way they do them. Yet they already have to pay for, and people have mentioned this, almost all these games are available on PlayStation Plus Extra or whatever. But it's like, that's more expensive than just PlayStation Plus. Why can't they just have these games available? You need PlayStation Plus anyway if you're going to play anything multiplayer, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So why not keep this for the people who make them more interested in the extra? If anything, it'll bring people to the extra.
Yeah, I just don't understand the thought process of, oh, well, we can't have this on here forever because then how are they going to buy the game? It's like, I don't know. PlayStation and Nintendo, the way they handle their customers and shit, it's just annoying as all hell.
It's money hungry, and they don't. It seems like they don't even care how obvious it is. It's like disrespectful.
Yeah, we were talking about in the editorials, about it's free advertising. Like, it's not free, but it's good advertising. Like, it draws people in that maybe would not have been drawn in before. And like with Nintendo cracking down on fan projects and stuff, those fan projects cost you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, you didn't spend any money on, what was it, Pokemon, Atomic version or whatever it was that came out recently that they put a cease and desist order on. Like, that cost you nothing. And it just advertises your brand.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And it doesn't. The argument that it tarnishes the brand image, it doesn't really.
What tarnishes the brand image is taking that away.
Because if people, like with Pokemon, if people aren't paying attention to gaming, chances are they're not going to hear about this, Pokemon Atomic version or whatever. They're gonna hear about the main Pokemon titles you release. The people that do pay attention enough to know about this version are going to be people that pay attention, to all that and know that this is a fan project. And it may be like a Sony pony that plays it and it's like, oh, so this is what Pokemon's about. Maybe I get a Switch. I can afford to have both a PlayStation and a Switch, I don't know. I don't understand these Japanese companies' mindsets, and I don't. Maybe it's part of their culture. I don't know enough about that side of it, but it's annoying how fan friendly these companies are. You know.
I agree. And it just makes them look bad in the long run. I mean, maybe they don't see that, or they just don't care. It's some sort of, I don't know, they just see it differently, I guess. Hopefully one day they won't.
Hopefully they won't, but I don't like the idea of thinking about the future in that way. But if you like or didn't like this podcast, make sure to do all of the things like hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and hitting that bell at the XofPlays on YouTube, or giving it a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. And I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefingroom, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.